It's been so long.
So who is Eric Rowe? Tell everybody who you are.
He's a complicated man. No, he's not. He's very simple. He's a simple man. I did that today. I had to do a little lecture with my program director and a bunch of Cumulus people. And she's like, Eric, what do you call yourself? I'm like, I don't know, idiot savant? I don't know what you mean. Oh, a radio nerd. That's it. Yes, I'm a radio nerd. And like most people that you talk to in radio are all nerds for this business. I grew up in Illinois on a farm. And fast forward, I'm in Houston, Texas since 2003. There's stuff in between. I can get, I don't want to bore you too much. I can do that later or whatever. But I work on the Rowe and Ryan show with Eric. That's a big thing for me because from 2003 to 2024, it was the Rowe and Ryan show. And most people still will always call it that. It's like, it's a big brand in Houston and around the country in the radio world. But I'm honored to have my name on the show. We have a new deal for 5 more years. So hopefully I'm employed for 5 more years. Who knows? I could still.
Well,
the contract is a contract, right? There's always ways to get out if they want me out.
Stop
I just know it's harder now because my name's on everything and the imaging and I don't know if you can see the little thing I have here.
Listen, it's cheaper to keep you
than
it is to get rid of you and change.
That was
everything.
my plan.
So 2 things that you said which are incredible is number 1, you are the executive producer and co-host technically of one of the longest running, hugest shows in Houston, the Rowe and Ryan show. And now to have with Eric, are you the only producer that has ever been added to the title of a radio show?
I'm sure there's a few out there, but I don't. Maybe not. I mean, I know there's
I don't think so, Eric. I think you made history. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, maybe. I know there's producers that, like the Burt Show, Burt in Atlanta.
But it's the Burt Show. Yeah, it's not the Burt Show right?
Yep,
or with, right?
He took over and decided to do his own stuff. I know a lot of producers that went on to host their own shows, but to join like this, especially this late in the game, and that's why I give kudos to Rowe and Ryan. But Rowe really pushed for it. Ryan's like, heck, man, he deserves it. I've been there since April of 2023. They started in January, but Rowe never knew this until I think a few months ago when we were talking on the air about it, how it all happened. Ryan and I used to work in Dallas. I was at the classic rock station and he was at the alternative station doing a morning show. And we became buddies. Because I was on an older show, classic rock guys. And we would go to the bar and drink, and then 9/11 happened, and we'd be depressed, like, oh my God, this is awful. He's like, we should do a show together someday. And he goes, all right, we'll see what we can do there. And he went to L.A. Because he got let go there. Went to L.A. to K-Rock, and I was doing voiceover work. And then KRB called in Houston and said, come work with this girl, Rowe. We'll make her the star of the show because you both worked at KRBE in the 90s. And we want to take on KRBE with former KRB hosts. And so he goes, Eric, I need help. I need to help me produce this producer we have. We need you. So I was producing that show and doing their show, getting them guests and doing this 2003 when people were getting guests a lot and stuff. So I was booking 2 shows and then I got the job with them, which a side note, when I met Rowe, I remember seeing her at a restaurant. I thought she looked like Drew Barrymore. And she always thought I looked like Nicolas Cage in a way. And I said, I was talking nice to her and stuff, and I thought it went great. And then Ryan told me, yeah, she doesn't like you. She doesn't want to hire you. I'm like, what? What the hell? So then I found out the reason she did want to hire me is because she thought Ryan and I were like really close buds. And we're friendly, but we're not close. And she thought 2 against 1. And now her and I are like best friends. I married her sister's best friend, so it's like we're family. We go to vacation. Like for my birthday last year, she went to Vegas with us. We're just all big happy family. So
you're
Ryan's
a big
like,
happy family.
Yeah,
I think that's incredible. And also, I think, and I understand her concern because as a woman in radio, it's hard enough as it is.
Yep.
Right. It's hard enough to, even if you're a co-host, to be seen as equal, and then to have the producer that really does. I don't think people understand how much producers touch the show in so many different ways. I was an executive producer for 15 years, so 2 in Atlanta 13 in Detroit. We are like the puppeteers behind the scenes sometimes. we make it all happen. And we're lucky if we even get a pat on the back most of the time. It's like, great, that was a great job. Now make tomorrow even better. You're like, okay.
That's a long time ago. I wrote a book. You're only good as your last bit. And it's just topics and bit.
Oh my God, I remember your book.
But it's true. You can have the best.
Is it still available, by the way?
No. I got ripped off when I got fired. We both got fired back in 2005. We had to sit out months, so I wrote a book. Man, I wish I had ChatGPT then because my grammar was so. My wife now, but she was my girlfriend then. I had her. It took her 4 weeks to go through this book to fix all my grammar. Plus, they're all stories about my life, like to make topics. And she's like, "Is this really?" I'm like, "Yeah, this really happened to me. That's really happened." So she just dumped me there. But I could put that book in ChatGPT in 30 seconds. It would have fixed everything. It made it look great. But no, the guy that my book does, dude stole my money. I made like $200 and I lost thousands. I failed many times. Tried prep service. I lost 30,000. When it comes to business, I'm a loser.
Yeah, but when it comes to personality, you're a winner, Eric.
Yeah, that's all that matters. That's what I tell my wife.
I would love to correlate. So you're only as good as your last bit. It is really true. And I think a lot of YouTubers and creators are going through that right now, right? A lot of times people will hit virality, but they have nothing to follow it up with, right? So you're only as good as your last video. You're only as good as your last YouTube show or episode.
And then they're chasing the tail, or, like if they're a dog, they're trying to chase it and trying to replicate it, and it doesn't work that way. Every time we get some 300,000 views on something, all of a sudden, I'm like, how do we do that? Can we do it again? And I don't know if anyone knows the magic formula. Maybe Mr. Beast. You just got to give away millions of dollars. Right. Is that what you got to do?
I mean, that's what he said. He said every penny he would get, he puts back into the next episode. I got bills to pay, though, so I don't know.
Exactly. I want to go on vacations.
But the notion of you're only as good as your last bit is huge to me because that's not just for radio. It really is for anything that has to do with content. And I feel like that a lot of people don't understand how to put themselves in the middle of a story, don't know how to actually plan a bit. So you've got a lot of these YouTubers and these content creators trying to figure out, what's the next funny thing to do.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of like taking shots in the dark. Can you talk to people about how the process of really coming together as a team and having that behind the scenes conversation and planning that bit out? Yes. Are there bits that all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, let's do this?
Yep.
Yeah. And you get it done? Sure. But are there others that we know there's certain things coming up or there's something in the news? How do we make ourselves part of the story? Talk to me about that behind the scenes process, because I think a lot of people just think, oh, they go on the radio, they turn it on, they have this easy job, they just do whatever, and then they leave for the day. And it's not that. Can you talk to people about the reality? That. I know.
No, I mean that when people listen to our show, they're like, man, that's chaotic and crazy. I'm like, yep, that chaos has been kind of planned. It's like, unfortunately, that's been planned. I couldn't imagine what it would sound like if it wasn't. Sorry, my mic gets a little crazy here. For me, there's a couple things. I don't think any one person, like from Conan O'Brien, David Letterman to Mojo, Burt Show, us, you can just say one person creates everything, and you have to have a group. You have to have a team, and that's why I think our success, even though there's 5 of us on the show, Rula, Ryan, and myself are the OGs. And I've always said we each have 33.5%, whatever it is, to get to 100. And that's why they want to put my name on the show, too, because I've always been that. It was never, a lot of shows are just, I'm the host, I call the shots, go get me this, do me that. I would not do well in that situation. I can't work like that. I want to work as a team, not as a dictatorship. And that's how I am as well with my team. Well, from used to be interns, but phone screeners to assistant producers. I'm not one of those people that you have to be here till 1:00. I know shows that do that in Houston. They make everyone stay till 1. I hate that feeling of someone looking over my shoulder, forcing me to do something or stay here and write jokes or bits or ideas.
Yeah, I think they call it office time. Yeah. I think that's what one of my PDs was like, you need office time. I'm like, bro, I have been up since 2 a.m.
prepping they don't see that. Stuff. They don't see those 5 hours.
Right? Like I was event planning for something else. I was running a charity. I was like, I don't need office hours. I'm an adult and if I want to leave at 12:30 instead of 1.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. So,
No, it doesn't.
And then I feel like people are not giving you their all when they're living their lives and they're living things. They come back to me with better material, and basically, I'll sit there and I'll be like, what kind of emotion is this getting me? I'll look at the show and say, okay. I mean, and Kid Craddock, late Kid Craddock. If you don't know who he is, I tell everyone to go to YouTube, type in the Kid Craddock show. Kid Craddock, though. I mean, the show is so powerful. This man died over 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago.
I think, yeah, 12 years
and
ago.
They're still the number one show in Dallas, and he's not even on the show, but it's called the Kid Craddock Show. The guy was a freaking genius, and he would tell me, he'd tell me all kinds of things, but he would be like, Eric, you got to, work with your team, think of ideas, what's next. Once you think of the idea, how can you make that bigger? And so I'm always trying to think, all right, I have this idea. How can I make it, if my show across the street or Good Morning America, because now I don't even really think about the morning shows in Houston. I'm beyond that. I'm thinking about other content because we're competing against social media, everything. Everyone has that same story. How do we make it different? And then we just throw stuff out there, and I'll throw stuff out there, write it down, and we just talk amongst ourselves. And when I notice when we're all kind of talking a little bit more with that angle, I go, that's it. That's what we need to be talking about.
You can feel the energy in the room.
Yeah, you feel
right?
it. Yeah,
and then when everyone's on the same page, that's why the health of the relationships on the show is so important. Yeah. I think a lot of times, and not just in radio, in any group atmosphere, whether you're working in a business, working in corporate, working on a YouTube channel, whatever, if the group isn't on the same page, number one, planning sucks because it's just like you feel like you're trying to force something, right? Yeah. Like, we got to make a decision. We can't be here till 5 o'clock today. We've got to figure out what we're doing. But then execution is awful.
Yeah.
Because it's like this one thought we were doing this, that one thought we were doing that, right? Like that was always the worst when it's like we would come up with a game and like I thought everybody was on the same page of how we're executing. And literally when you're live and like it's going, it was just like, how do I stop this train now? You kind of can't. And you just kind of roll with it. And then afterwards, and you know this, no matter what happens, it's always our fault.
Yep.
If it did well, the hosts are amazing. If it sucked, your producer sucks. And it was just like, oh my God.
And that's what, like I said, I'll give Rula so much credit. She feels weird. That's the key. If anyone out there is doing content and maybe you're not the main host, but you're, very important, especially if you're producing or you're a sidekick, co-host, whatever you call it. You want them to trust you so much that when you're not there that day, they feel lost. They feel naked, like my arm's missing. I'm always till Rula's left. I could give her a piece of paper. That was the hardest part during COVID for 19 months. Doing the show on computers, I just talked to her, it's radio, so I could just go over and.
Right. All the time.
Now we have IFBs. I can talk into the mic and just say, hey, I can tell.
You guys got IFBs?
Well, a mini one. It goes to the board, but it doesn't go to everyone. Like Kid Craddock has them all for every person, not each person. But I'll write it right down like, hey, tease this, come in here. I'm like, you're the captain, but I'm keeping you straight. I'm your compass type.
I wanted IFBs for so long because I would have to go out and just make sure like the calls were doing well or like call screeners were okay. So just like the door going in and out is so disruptive that if I could just literally, an IFB is literally like this. It's just in their ear. And Eric can literally just press a button. Nobody else can hear it except for that person he's talking to. So he can literally say, hey, really quickly, line 2 has something ... Or, hey, you forgot to mention this. Can you just mention that really quickly?
And because if you don't know that, it's fun to watch news shows or watch sports shows because everyone's got them in there. And you can kind of tell the rookies, the newbies. And I'd probably be terrible at it on TV because they'd be like, so Rachel. And then they'd be, you need to shut up. In 30 seconds, you got to 10 seconds, shut up. I mean, it's so funny you say that. Yeah. Because when I used to work for The View, like early on, and when Joy would have this IFB in and the director would be talking to her, she would literally answer out loud. Okay. Yeah, I got it. And you're like, you're on live TV. Like you're not supposed to respond. I'd have to do
you're supposed to just like fake the face or do one of these, right? Like if the camera's not on you, you just sort of like look into the camera that is not on you. They'll be like, got it. Right? Like do not talk back.
Yeah. That's what's fun to watch. because
It is fun to watch. It is fun to watch. And like, honestly, nowadays, those mess ups are the biggest thing, right? I think
I love messing up. Like, if that's another thing too. If you're trying to be perfect, then don't do this.
No.
If you're the type of person that falls apart, being perfect, it's not the way to live in anything in life.
Well, you also want, number one, I think people need to take responsibility for their role in whatever happens, right? So it's like sometimes things fall apart. Sometimes, and you know this, we can plan for all the perfect things, and then all of a sudden there's a technical issue, right? And then you're just like, no, like everything we planned for was like working out perfectly, and then all of a sudden it all falls like dominoes, and you're just like, okay, it is what it is.
It's funny you're talking about like people that take responsibility. When I was in Dallas in like 2000, this is awful what happened. Well, it wasn't me. It was a night show. Back then they had night shows with like 2 or 3 people. They had a budget, I guess. And this show talked to their PD, got it, and said, we're going to do this. And he goes, okay, all right, you can do it. And it's stupid. They went on the radio. This is a big thing in like 2000. And they go, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to report it's a sad day. Britney Spears was killed in a car wreck last night, and we're trying to get more details. And I'm like, what is it? How's that even funny? Funny, or like what's the angle? Because it's just stupid. Just trying to get everyone to listen to them, I guess. I don't know. They did this for, I don't even know how long it was, but obviously Dallas newspapers, everything went crazy. They got fired because the PD's like, they never told me that. I never knew they were going to do that. I'm like, what? That guy was a piece of shit. It's like that guy didn't even have his back. And that's when that early on in my career is when I realized, and there's a lot of great people in radio, but there's also a lot of scumbags and people that will, everyone's there to cover their own ass. That's how you got to just look at anything. Anything you do, anyone watching this, I don't want us to be selfish, but just take care of yourself first. Because you're going to get burned somehow, and cover your tracks. And not cover your tracks, cover your not
cover
tracks. That sounds bad, because if you cover your tracks, that's how you get cover-ups are bad. But, if you got emails, make sure like that show should have said, email, we're going to do this bit. We still good with doing this, Dwayne or Bob? And then they say yes, then you got proof at least. Will they have saved their job? No, but these guys ended up going to Detroit, and they got a midday show and a talk, shock jocks type station back in the early 2000s. That's when you got fired and you moved up back then. Before the the woke world came, it was the opposite. But then the more craziness you got attention, another city would take you. And then that was what was dangerous. Those guys are like, we got nothing to lose. We're at nighttime. We want to also do middays and make double the money.
Well, and that's where, especially in radio, like the health of the team also includes the sales team. It includes your PD, who is technically like our boss, right? Like in radio, your PD is your program director, and that's the person that you report to. And so a lot of times you have relationships where the PD a lot of the times will get in between the characters on the show. Because they have a viewpoint, or their wife said, right? Like, I can't, in Atlanta, that made me insane. Oh, yeah. Like, love you to death, Steve, and your wife. But it was like, well, my wife said, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, like I get it. Is your wife the PD?
Our old boss is from Atlanta. He married someone young, and she loved a certain kind of music. And so she wanted us to
the format of the station.
Yeah, one station in Atlanta, she wanted them to play more of the music she liked, like 80s music and stuff. And I was like, it's a top 40 station there. What do you?
Right. Yeah, there's a whole other station for that. You should go listen to it.
I know. Are you that good in bed that your husband's going to listen to you because he doesn't want to not get that anymore? I don't understand that. That drives me nuts. You're right, and that's the hard part about this job is there is no really right or. It's not like math or science where you can prove your theorem, you can prove your, whatever, calculus. You can prove that. Radio, what you think is funny, I might not think is funny. I think Conan O'Brien did great on the Oscars. I'm sure there's people that thought he sucked. Humor that's what makes it so much fun, because if you can get the majority of people to like you, that's why I know I do a good job, because we've been on this long. But in radio, you're not on this long in the same city. They would have kicked our ass out if we're really that bad or not entertaining.
Yeah, I think you're one of the, what are we at? Like maybe a handful or 10 heritage shows that still exist, that have that rapport, that have built that family relationship, that can trust each other. Trust is a huge thing. Talk to me about that a little bit. If you feel like, or if someone in the room, do you guys have a code? Ours was always like, or we would say like, do you want to go get Panera for lunch? Like that was always like the stop this conversation. Now you're going too far. Because
usually
a lot of times, well, yeah,
that's about usually when I know it went too far. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, huh?
But a lot of times in radio, you get in the feeling like you've got a topic, we don't really know where it's going to go, and it sort of like takes off on its own. And people get really vulnerable in that studio because yes, you're talking to millions, but if I can look my like partner, my co-host, my producer in the eye and like really have a true conversation,
just one-on-one,
you're really there in that moment. That's a real moment. So like, regardless of has as much stuff that you know that we've planned, when you're in that real moment, sometimes it's scary. It's scary to be vulnerable, and I think a lot of hosts just aren't going there anymore.
And that's sad.
It is sad.
Talking about 9/11, I was talking about earlier when I did the show with Jeff and Anna. We obviously, like most shows, we all were on till 5 a.m. till 4 p.m. every day for 2 weeks. 7 days a week. That's what you did. But I knew some shows, the show I used to be on, classic rock, they just wanted to be funny. Like some shows, that's all I knew. But these are guys that grew up, in the 70s and 80s, and they weren't about being vulnerable. They're about just gonna be funny. Got to come up with jokes, or you got to do parody songs and do things like that. Which nothing wrong with that. It just, it's very. You can be very successful being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, and you can still be funny and entertaining.
Well, exactly. We can be all the things because the goal is to connect with the audience, right? Like you want people to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah. But then
you want them to want to tune in.
I just want to take my mind away from that thing,
And
that's
why we don't talk about politics. Okay. If you're that show, if that's the goal of your show, it's just, we're just going to be funny, or we're just going to do rip and reads, meaning like we're just going to read headlines, laugh, and move on. And we leave at whenever the show's over, 10 a.m. or 9:55. Some of them probably leave at 9 and just replay stuff.
Oh, yeah, probably every 2 hours.
Right? Where it's like, and I get it. But for the shows that really are connected to their audiences, like you guys are, you're truly, truly connected to the people that listen to you, that you're top of mind, you're the first thing they check. Yep. Most people probably just tune into you before they even check social media, which is unheard of, right? Nowadays, you're going to go online first and check social and get sucked into that. You guys are so integrated with your audience that it's like, what are Rula, Ryan, and Eric talking about today?
And that's why
huge.
Radio, and that's why I'm still bullish and proud of, and I'm high on radio still. And I think it might even do better than it did the last 10 years. Not business-wise, I don't know, because it's expensive and people aren't spending the money, but talent-wise, content-wise, because there's some great shows out there that are doing some great things. And what does a radio show have? There's two things. What do they have that a podcast show doesn't have? One of them is a majority of them, callers, live callers. We can take callers that are feeling it in the moment. We have hurricanes here, and unfortunately, we get quite a few the last 10 years. We can talk to the people right then. We can help you out. It's like, hey, Rachel, you need something right now. You lost your couch, lost this. You know what? Let's help you out. Someone right now listening, did you have an extra couch? Rachel needs it. You know what? We'll go pick it up in the van. We will help you out. The community aspect, you can't beat that, what radio can do when it comes to that.
It's the fourth wall. So I went from TV, where I think a lot of people, when you go from TV to radio, they think you're taking a step down. No, I truly, truly was like, okay, I see where the view is going and I see what they're trying to do. In the very beginning, they were trying to like bring an audience questions or questions from people that were watching. And I was like, God, there's something about radio where that fourth wall is broken. Yep. The community, the listeners are just as much a part of the show as you guys are. I'm sure you could name at least 10 listeners right now that call you every day.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, can I talk to Eric? Right? That you've bonded with.
Well, they share videos with me. I'm like, well, guys, you got to pull back on those videos a little too much. Sometimes I can only do LOL too many times or a smiley face, It's like,
but we truly
they actually care. So you got to smile.
But you truly form relationships with your community and those listeners. I always say that radio DJs, radio hosts were the first influencers. I mean, truly, before influencers were influencers, radio DJs were it. You guys were the shit. Yep. And so I really wish that radio could sort of take a step back and really look at the wider picture of what a show is, who the hosts are, and what they really can do to connect to a local audience. I completely understand syndication. Not a fan of using AI in radio. I just feel like something's lost there. I do think you need that human. There's an energy in the voice.
Why would you shoot yourself in the foot? That's what radio's doing with AI and
to save money.
Even voice tracking. I know it's great because it can save money, but I'm like, just sell those stations then. If you're not making money, let some local car dealership guy in Wichita Falls buy the station, and he can do commercials on his station. And it just blows my mind how. And here's another thing: if you look at the successful morning shows like ours, Bert's Show, Mojo, Elvis Duran, Ryan Seacrest, just look at the big top shows. What do they all have in common? They have big casts. They have 4 or 5 people. They got producers. They got like 7 or 8 people. We have 5 of us plus Ahmad, 6, and Irvin does our social media. So we have 7 people, and we're not syndicated. Our competition, they have like 2 or 3 people. 2 people. I'm not saying you have to have all those people, but it just shows like our station's investing in talent. And these other stations that just cut it down and then doing voice tracking. I'm like, why are you even doing it? Just make it a jukebox.
I agree. I really think that we're at this crossroads for radio where they could really double down on local talent, being local, connecting to the community, getting people out there. And obviously nowadays you're not just a radio producer or radio host, right? You have to be on social. You have to be doing all the things. You should be live streaming, right? You should have YouTube.
That can be dangerous because they can, they can find you. I live in a high rise now. Mm-hmm. Nice high rise we built, put 2 units together. So I got my little studio, movie room, and stuff, and I feel safe up here. Before my other house, I was doing things like I get crazy with things. Producer Eric on social media if you want to see it. But if I'm like walking my dog, or I just feel safe, because even if you found me, you still can't get to me. But
Eric,
there's guards and there's people. So I love that feeling of I can't get stabbed tonight. I mean, I still could, I guess. They could try and burn the high rise down, I guess. But granted, just give someone an idea. But it's hard because you're doing a show, and these people really they feel like they're best friends with you. They want to be with you. Then you do a video, and they see, oh wait, I know that pizza place behind him. Oh shit, he lives over there. Oh yeah, that could be scary, and I'm waiting for that to happen. I'm going to get stabbed.
Don't put that in the universe. Stop putting negativity in the universe. We make strong connections. I mean, I would make connections with audience members that would call in all the time. There was one I remember, not to get dark, but he was thinking about committing suicide. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, okay, give me your phone number. Let's have a conversation. Like, don't do anything. Like, let's literally you and I just talk off air. I remember there was a guy who we did a topic about sobriety, and he was just having a hard time, and he literally called me outside of the liquor store waiting for them to open. And he's like, I've been sober for this many years, and I heard you guys talking about this, and I literally am waiting for this liquor store to open. I wanted to go in and just take a drink, and I haven't for years, and I started listening to what you guys were saying, and I'm not going to do it. Wow. And it was like, oh my God, we make real impact. Yes. Yeah. I asked him, hey, are you comfortable talking about this?
Because he obviously wants help, and
this 100%.
And one thing I've learned about this business, you could talk about that, you could think whatever you're thinking, someone else is thinking it out there or been through it. We do a bit called Believe It or Not, where you just call us up, tell us something that's unbelievable but true, and we get some amazing calls, or just dumb question amnesty, where every end of the month I let you call in. And it could be any question. Like one lady wanted to know what part of the steak was the fillet of fish. And we're like, fillet of fish it's just called fillet of fish. It's not a fillet. So, but we can't laugh because that's part of dumb question amnesty. Right. This is the one time you can ask any question. We're not going to make fun of you. We're going to help you get the answer. Of course, the listeners are probably laughing. Right. One was the one person, she just turned 21 and she had a question about clubs, like when they have ladies half off, do they have to wear their tops? Can they wear tops to it? I'm like, that's when I knew at least I have a chance in this world because I know I'm not the smartest person, but I'm not that down and dumb. What was the other one? There's so many weird things out there, but no, I love talking to listeners and shows that don't talk to listeners. I get it because maybe they got some weird listeners. They don't have a good call screener. They don't have somebody that can help coach them. That's the thing. We don't just take the call. You got to talk to the person. Say, okay, that was great. You know what? We'll probably only have like maybe 15 to 20 seconds to talk with you. That part you said right there, that's really good. Why don't you lead with that? You don't have to say hello. Just, jump on in there when they say, hey, Bob, just say, hey, Eric, I had this happen to me too. And this is, kind of guide the person because they get nervous. 15 seconds. If you have a person on for more than a minute, you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Yes. Certain topics. Now, if it's something like sobriety and the person's, that's the segment. That person's the star.
Exactly.
Because if someone gets too preachy, the listeners will just be like, because I do that too. I'm driving. I'm like, shut up. I don't care anymore. Or they leave them potted up while the two hosts are talking and then the person's trying to chime in. Yeah, me too. I'm like, oh God, pot it down or let them talk.
So what Eric means by potted down is everything goes through a mixing board. And so when you're potted up, people can hear you on the radio. When you're potted down, you're silent and you can't talk anymore. Well, you can talk, but nobody can hear you.
This code, like,
well,
put it down.
I mentioned this the other day. I interviewed Tom Sullivan, who was like the sidekick guy on the Steve and Vicky Morning Show. Incredible. He's so talented.
You know what's funny about that? I was down there. What year was that when you got hired there?
Oh my God, 2005. Yeah. 4 or 5.
I was up for that job.
Sorry.
And I'm like, because I knew we had to sit out for the 9 months, so I was like, oh my God, who's the PD?
Oh God,
not
Jim Morrison. I can see Dan.
Yeah, something. But
you know what?
Nice guy. I remember I had lunch with him.
Sorry, Dan.
But Tom was a great guy. I watched it. He's so
stories, funny. Man. He's hilarious. But I mentioned in that interview that Steve McCoy, still love him. He's on hospice. Steve, we love you. Just had a birthday. Happy birthday. But if he didn't want, like if he was done with you or like didn't trust where you were going, he would pot you down. So like you would think that you were still talking, or I'd be like talking, and then I'd be like, "Wait, what just happened?" And then I would look over on his board. I was like, "Oh, I'm not even on the air." Yeah, it sucked. But like again, I have to trust that he understands the timing he was going for. Maybe he had to hit a commercial break. Maybe he had to, do you know what I mean? Like we have to trust whoever, because there is an engineer or captain of the ship, right? Yep, somebody's running the board.
That job's not always sexy. Like,
no,
you're more the information. Like, I like to be the reactor. That's what Ryan and I.
Does Ryan run his board? Who runs the board?
We have Sam. She runs our board. Okay. We always had a board. Someone run the board because the theory was whoever runs the board takes over the show when they started, and because Willa did it, and she's like, "Oh God, you're driving me nuts, Ryan," because his OCD would kick in, and she's like, "That's just if someone run the board, we focus on our things." And that's been a godsend for us. That's why I don't even know how to run the board anymore. It's 2005.
That's awesome.
And Rule's like, you don't touch that board because we don't want them to like try
to get you to go do it
again. We're going to fire that person running because I have to run around. I'm putting out fires. I'm doing everything.
1,000%. You can't be attached to anything. You cannot.
Focused on spots. I don't have time to think about the spots, but it's important. You can't lose money. So I got someone that makes sure they do all that stuff. Kid Craddock,
they're the air traffic controller, basically, right?
Kid Craddock, he would run his board when the mics were on. As soon as he was off, he would leave, and then Shannon would take over and run the board and stuff. And she'd help him with stuff because he'd do like voices with harmonizers and stuff. But then he'd go in his office and have a cigarette and type something up, some crazy bit and stuff. I'm like, man, that guy's a genius. How's he do that? But yeah, so teach his own. Just people that run the board, that's pretty impressive. But a lot of shows that do that, I feel like long form shows, like shows that have time to breathe, like Mojo, he can run the board.
Yeah,
time to breathe. He's not worrying about doing a 3-minute bit. And I think those people that do 3-minute segments, that I don't think I could do that. That's hard.
It's hard, and you have to really figure out, like, you have to have a concise hook, a concise intro, right? Like what specifically are we talking about, so that you can quickly turn around calls if it's even possible in that 3 to 4 minutes.
How to get in and out. It's hard.
And then you have to have that brain for where this is ending, right? I would always say it's literally just storyline. The storyline's here, right? We're amping up. You want to stop it here. You don't want to stop it when it's down here, right? Like when everybody's fatigued, it's like, okay, we get
We've all done it too.
We did the topic.
You end the bit like this, is like, oh yeah, all right, okay, what's coming up next?
Exactly. You're like,
I kind of laugh about something. We'll make, if that does happen by accident, we'll make a joke about it. Like, oh, I guess, guys, we're done with that one. All right, what's coming up next?
And moving on. Exactly. So I think that's really important. Knowing how to get into something, knowing the art of the tease is a huge thing that I learned in television to keep them listening, to keep them watching. And then the art of knowing when to end it, right? Because I think that, like, you're looking for the magic call. That's what a lot of the hosts are doing. When you hear hosts sort of like,
end on that great call, laughter.
I want to end on that laugh. I want to end on that, like, ha 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 ha. We're out to commercial break, right? Yeah. So, like, you've got the phone screener frantically trying to find that one person while also trying to be nice to the people calling in, which I just wasn't. With some people, I will flat out admit, like, there were times where I was just like, I have 30 seconds to get somebody on. I can't talk to you about your cat today. Like,
there's only so many lines you have, and I always told Ahmad, he does our phone screening. I always tell him there's always a better call out there. So even when you got 10 of them full, weakest link, take them out.
Weakest link goes. Exactly. And don't be scared to go back through. Like, hey, Jim, what was the thing that you were going to start with again?
Yeah, but then test them out.
Go back through, test them out. Like, okay, what were you going to say? As soon as they said, hey, John, like, Jim, whatever, like, hey, Jim, you're on, whatever. Like, get right into it. Let's not chit chat because it's short on time. I think there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that people just don't even understand how stressful it is when it's live. You're not pre-recording callers. So like, there's so many different elements up in the air all the time. That's why, like, the last thing on your mind should be the health of the show and, like, the relationships. What do you think is, like, the biggest reason that you guys get along so well?
It's funny,
and I know that's sort of like a cheesy question, right? You get asked it on the panel, like, oh, you all get along so well. Why?
I'll say we're like family, because do you love all your family members? There's always that crazy cousin.
Unconditionally love them, but I don't always like them.
Yeah. I mean, there's things like that. So, I mean, like, Rule and Ryan will butt heads. People, like, for years, will be like, oh man, they hate each other. No, they don't hate each other. And that's what makes it work. I don't want to be listening to a show where I'm listening to two best friends and I feel like I'm just the odd man out at a party. I like where I can take sides, and they're so different. And then I throw me in there, and we're just three different people. You're going to get different opinions, and that makes it exciting for me. That's why I like shows with, I have open mic policy with everybody. Everyone's mics are open, all five of us. Kevin, Special K, does from pranks, voices, and stuff, and he knows when to jump in. He's a genius at it, and he always has the zingers. He'll knock one of us down. But I told him from day one, when your mic's on, you better freaking have something funny or have a point to it. I don't want just we have enough blabbermouths between us three. And
you don't want airtime just for airtime, right? Like,
pushing air. But so now, like, we do tests, and he scores so high, better than most everybody. Kills me. Because he does pranks and stuff, and he
gets to be funny guy all the time.
Yeah,
right.
Pavlov's dog. You hear, Kevin's coming up. Oh, it's gonna be funny.
Exactly.
That's how you got to think in radio and anybody when trying to do content. You're yourself, but you're also a character, maybe amped up a little bit, because everyone thinks they're interesting, but are you entertaining? And are you really interesting? I mean, I don't think I'm that interesting, but. One thing I do. I was into some Randy Lane, a consultant that's really like Ryan Seacrest, Jimmy Kimmel when he was doing radio. He taught me every weekend on, like, Sunday, ask everyone to just send you like 4 or 5 things they did, even if it's nothing. Just send me something, and I can find something out of that material and make it show worthy and interesting. Because what I think is interesting or not interesting, I send to you, Rachel. You may, oh, that's gold. That's really good.
Right.
I'll be like, really? Do you think people like on Monday I got back? We went on a cruise for the spring break, and I'm famous on the show for buying things drunk. And then I end up giving it to Sam. She's like, all right, Eric, buy it. So I know in 3 months you're going to be bored and give it to me. So I bought these arch supports from a thing called Good Feet on the ship. The guy talked me into it. It was like $400. I had a few drinks, massage. I was like, all right, I'll buy those. I want my posture to be better. And it felt, so now that was the topic. Am I getting ripped off? Has anyone heard about this thing? And there's Good Feets everywhere and people are talking about it. Now people, it's getting in my character like, oh, that's Eric for you, man. That guy spends money on bourbon. He's got 500 bottles of bourbon. He's nuts. Is he always drinking? Which I'm not, but I'm kind of like the Dean Martin type. Which, if you don't know who Dean Martin is, he'd be like Ron White of the Jeff Foxworthy Blue Collar Tour. And if you don't know who they are, look those two up. They're guys that kind of, they have a drink or two. They look like they're having a little fun and just laid back and stuff. Like when we do road shows, we do these big Rule and Ryan road shows, and we fill up. The night before was Kiss; they were there. Then we're there the next night, selling out to like 3,000 or 4,000 people who actually paid. They listened to us for free, and they paid $50 to come see us entertain. And so I'll be out there with my drink, and sometimes it's iced tea or something. You play it up. Most of the time it's not, though. I just tell the bosses that.
Don't tell anybody that.
They get scared.
But that's the thing, I think, with whether it's on TV, content creating, whatever it is, you're a characterization of yourself. The stories that we tell are real, right?
Yep.
And how you relate to them is kind of what makes it interesting. And I think a lot of times when you have a group setting, when you have multiple characters, you want to stay in your lane, right? Like you doing something more serious wouldn't be necessarily like an Eric thing, or Kevin maybe doing something more serious would sort of be out of his character.
Like I can get away with talking about money, like because I do pretty well, but because I grew up on the show, on a couch. Like realistic, I came to my house and I had a big sectional. My place was so small, I had to cut it up in two pieces, and it wasn't cut up, but it's kind of connected. So I had half in another room. I slept on that. Like everyone saw my story, how I married Dream Woman, who's very successful. Her family, they do well.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you got your wife is hot as hell. I don't know what you did, like what magic potion
so
you put in her drink.
Guy. I'm a lucky mother effer. And, but I can talk about these things or what might sound goofy or snobby or something. I'm like, oh, I can say I spent $500. Most people are like, are you nuts? But people, because I'm not trying to brag about it, I'm just telling like I'm an idiot. I did this or I did that. If Rowe and Ryan did, like Rowe is like, I can't talk about if I have a beach house, I can't talk about these things because then people will say
it's not relatable. So I get it. So you stay in your lane.
I'm the guy that drinks. I drive a truck. One time I had a Maserati until the hurricane hit. Harvey, or not Harvey. Harvey hit us, and that's what all the radio guys I would pick up. Scotty K, and he's in Chicago doing afternoons on Country Station. I remember I picked him up once at the airport or at a hotel, and he's like, "What the? You're the producer? How you getting a Maserati?" And another Mahoney. I don't know if you know Dave Mahoney, but he did a show in Vegas. And now he's in Arizona. It's Dave and Mahoney and someone else. I just forgot her name. But he was our competition here, and we went out for dinner or something. And I picked him up, or I drove him. He thought I rented it just to try and impress him. Like
that actually would be funny.
Oh, I did. I tell you what, though, I leased the thing for 3 years.
So technically, you were renting it.
I'm like, my truck costs more than this thing cost. So it's just like people were cheering me on. And I'm not trying to. I know I sound like a dick there, but I'm just trying to say like. People cheer for you. They can cheer for you in situations where, like the Howard Sterns of the world. How is Howard Stern so successful when he makes $100 million a year? He's not relatable to anybody, but he is. When you listen to him, he's smart. He doesn't talk about the money, even though he's in his house in Miami or West Palm.
Yeah, he didn't go back to his studio, right? He just stayed. Okay. I mean, once he built out that studio, I knew he was not coming back from his Florida house or his Hamptons house. I was like, you're not getting him back in studio.
But if Baba Booey had that life and all of a sudden started getting the money and started doing things, you'd like, oh, I want to live through him.
Right.
And laugh with him and see him fail. So
well, especially if you've grown up with them, right? Like you've got people cheering for you. They want you to succeed and they live vicariously through your wins.
Yeah, and losses. Like I said, I've lost a lot. I, I lose a lot when it comes to business, but not when it comes to marriage. Well, my first marriage I lost. But my second marriage, I won big.
Well, I always say everyone needs a starter marriage. I had a starter marriage. Like, how else can you learn from your mistakes?
That's why I tell everyone, if you want to get married, go ahead. Just do the starter marriage when you're 25, 26. By the time you're 30, you'll find someone better. Have kids before 40, then you can just... I'm jealous of... I do have a son, he's 26. I have my kids 16 and 14 from my wife, Nagy. But I'm like, man, if we were together from day one, our kids would all be done. Not that I could retire, but I'd be like...
You're never done, though. Yeah. I mean, you have an older kid. I have 3 older stepsons. You're never done.
Yeah, it's more expensive.
It gets more expensive, and their problems are different.
How's your daughter doing, by the way?
I have a 14-year-old son and 13-year-old daughter.
I was following her story.
She's a mini-me. It's really odd to have somebody who is a mini-me, but in every way smarter and funnier.
So you're like, I got to harness this.
I said, I was like, listen, Mama wants to retire. Right. I'm going to build the community to launch to, and then we'll launch your stuff. Awesome. But she's very meta. Like, I don't know how your kids are, but my daughter's very into comedy and improv. And so she'll just do things to be funny. Whereas in the past, for the radio, I'd pull it out so that it could be a bit or a topic on the radio. And now she hates that she can Google herself and see herself from my radio days. She doesn't like it. And so she'll do things just because in this moment she wants to make us laugh, right? So she'll come down with an old man.
Yeah, just go for the laugh. I love
mustache. Right. She's just going for the laugh. It's very meta. And I'm just like, you're just doing this to be funny. And I could pull out the phone, and sometimes I'll say hey, can you do that bit over again or something so I can post it on my stories? And sometimes she'll be like, no. And she'll just walk away.
You got it. She doesn't care. One time only. I'm just doing it.
Yeah. She was like, nope, you should have caught it in the moment.
Moment for us.
Oh, well. Right. And so it's just funny to see how the joy she gets out of just coming up with her own bit, literally creating a costume, not really knowing where she was going to go with it, but then executing just to see Mom and Dad laughed. Okay, done.
That's all. I love that.
Right. And so if I can harness it enough, and especially being a teenager or a tweenager, but I guess she's a teenager. Yeah. 13. Oh God. Oh my God. That wants to do comedy and improv. I mean, she literally is a little girl, but has a dirty mind of a dirty comedian, like a male comedian. It's hilarious and she'll tell you, because Mommy let TikTok raise me, and I did. Yeah. I was busy, and it sucks, but it is what it is.
Going on 24.
Yeah, I'm a terrible parent. I'll absolutely admit it. I absolutely. She literally was just like, "Well, you let TikTok raise me," and I was like, "You're not wrong. You're just not right."
I know people. Oh no, you can't do that, but you can learn a lot. I'm a 51-year-old man, and I'm addicted to TikTok. That stuff just knows what you want. And that's how content, going back to content, you have to be like that. You want to make people addicted to your show, to your podcast. You want them to be thinking about you. You want them to absorb and take everything. And that's why you got to be everywhere. You got to be on we take our show. We have cameras now. We're taking pieces of it. We put on YouTube, the full videos. We got, social media. Everywhere you could get content, you got to be. So I tell everyone, got to be everywhere. It's harder. It's harder now than it's ever been.
Harder, especially if you don't have the budget like you guys for the people to execute. So I get some shows are fatigued because they're just like, I can't be everything and also have a life and to talk about on the air. I get that.
2 people, that's tough.
It is tough. But
then you find somebody, and you can find someone that's hungry, like how your daughter's hungry.
Yeah.
Like, what if she was, say, 18, but that hungry? I'd be like, hey, you want to work for us? We'll pay you some donuts or something.
I've already told her I'll pay her to start editing videos. Yeah. I was like, I'll pay you. You have comedic timing. It'll be perfect. So in the realm of radio, 2 more questions. The show itself is a brand. And I think that's one of the things that some shows don't get right, is understanding that you are a brand. And part of that branding is outside of those morning show hours, you have to still exist. It's video marketing. That's what social media is. It's video marketing, opening up your audience to or to more than just the local.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're having a hard time with it, or do you feel like you really
I think we're
have
nailing
a
that.
system down now?
Yeah, we're nailing it with the show and then with ourselves because we put the content on. KRB owns all of our stuff, so they use it on their social media and their Facebook stuff. Facebook is actually really, people make fun of Facebook, but we get hundreds of thousands of views on these.
Still
things.
get traction. You still get traction on Facebook.
It's like
Absolutely.
the joke. It's like radio's a joke. That's always a punchline.
Right.
Netflix shows are streaming,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh, roll my eyes. I see the data. I know what it is. People, XM was supposed to take us out. TV, CDs, everything is radio. We are the cockroach of entertainment, people. We cannot be taken out.
Cockroach of entertainment.
We won't be here for another 100 years.
The only people that can react to a breaking news story or something happening that people will always turn the radio on. Always. Yep. What's going on? I need to know right now. And then you don't get that everywhere else. I know there's like some live streamers and stuff like that, but like, I just feel like there's something so special still about radio. I still believe in it. I just think that the people leading this radio industry need to start to learn to pivot. They need to like,
they look at the stocks market.
Pivot. Right. They need to pivot from thinking about just the money.
Yeah.
They need to really start putting effort, time, and money behind the local talent, because I just don't think they understand talent is really why the people are tuning in.
Oh yeah. I just saw a stat today. It's flip-flopped over the last even 15 years. Like 70% go for talent and 52, I forget what it was, is for music. Our station, like our morning show, we play two songs an hour, sometimes zero. We feel it out, and our bosses are fine with it. The old days, you got to keep to 3, you got to keep to 4.
You get in trouble.
Yeah, they get mad at you. I'm like,
you would get in trouble. Yeah.
Like, so the people, because we have a lot of people that love country music down in Texas, down in Houston, but they love our show because we're edgier or just we're relatable. Because
it's a show. That's what they're tuning. They're not tuning in to hear music. Like they can open their apps for that. Yeah. They're tuning in to hear you guys. Exactly. And so the last thing I wanted to talk about is our radio brethren getting fired left and right. And being told, or maybe the theory of radio is dying. You're not going to get hired again. You have to figure something else out. Like, what advice? Because you've been in this game,
I've been let go
for a long time, and you've been let go. What advice do you have for the people that are getting let go right now, that are just like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to fulfill this dream?
Well, if these people get fired and they're shocked, then you probably should just leave radio, because it's not if, it's when in this business. So I'm always prepared. That's why I'm always writing material. I'm writing articles. I can tell you one in a second. I'm always reaching out, talking to consultants. I'm talking to, shows, morning show boot camp. I meet a lot of radio people. I help everybody. I want to help. If you're just taking, I mean, what kind of, that's, and then you ask them for something. It's like, or you never ask for anything. And you have to be a people person. You got to be a human, talk to people, be prepared. I do a radio show. Maybe I should start a podcast on the side. My contract says I can do that. This is my thing. I'll do it once a week for 1 hour, and I will, just get my chops going. And then if something happens to you, you still have that outlet to go entertain and make some money. Maybe it could be anything. Maybe you want to do. I know a guy named Johnny Bravo. He used to work on KRBE before we were there, and he would go out and do those stunt boy stuff. Hey, I'm out here at McDonald's doing this and that, and now he makes so much money for auctions at schools. His company, he does $5, but he's so entertaining. He jumps in the air. He's like, instead of those old guys, he's all right. He raises, like, when you hire him, you're going to get like 30%. He's got proof. You'll make 30% more with him, and then he gets a bigger cut. So find ways to make money. Do it while you have a job. Once you don't have a job, it's like never quit your job until you have another job. They say that, right?
Yes,
So,
but
so make,
also network. You're not
yes.
an island unto yourself. And I
No.
think that there are still, just like you, a lot of people in radio that are willing to help other radio people.
That's why I would do this with you. I'm like, let's go my nap time. I'd rather hang out with you.
I know, I'm
No,
sorry. That's the first thing I thought of was like,
Not
this
even
man's
tired.
going to be so exhausted. Because people don't understand. What time do you get up in the morning?
4. Now 4. But the old
Now
days
4, because you're
2:30.
just like, I got this. But yeah, 2 a.m. was what time I would get up. And so by 1 o'clock.
Smarter, not harder.
Well, I felt so bad for so long because my kids would come home from school and I would just be like, I am tapped out. I love you so much, but mommy can't even think right now because, again, and my husband never understood this. Yes, we're talking for 4 hours. You have no idea the energy we put into that. It is exhausting. And I think people think, how easy is it?
Talk for 4 hours, and we're not even talking on air. Just talk for 4 hours straight. Because that's what we're doing. Even when the mics are off, we're still talking. Our brain is most people go to work. They say they can do your job in like 4 hours, really. But people spread it out. They go get a drink, talk about March Madness. Hey, did you see Righteous Gemstones last night?
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I've done some really hard jobs. Farming is a real hard job. There's a lot harder jobs. But when it comes to sleeping, we've taken years off our lives to entertain you people. So you better appreciate what we've done.
You're always thinking of it. Then when you prepare for the next show, like your brain doesn't stop for hours. So it's not, and I love my husband to death. We own a construction company and it's like, I know you have to think and do, but my jaw would hurt at the end of the day. I would just be like, I am in so much pain. The cans on the head, right? I would get such headaches. And then as the producer prepping stuff, then I would have calls, right? When the show is over, that's when LA would be coming in. So any emails that I put out for talent or guests or whatever, it's like, okay, now the second half of my day starts.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Unfun part, the part that's not as fun.
No, yeah. I mean, I remember once the White House was calling and my kids were babies. They were little, like 2 and 3, I think. And I had to go lock myself in the bathroom because I was like, it's the freaking White House. I'm trying to get the president on as a guest. Like, I love you both, but they're too young to understand, like, here's the iPad, go shut up. And so I remember locking myself in the bathroom while talking to the White House because I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die if they can hear them crying in the background.
And there's one more, we were talking about radio not getting it. I mean, why don't we look at McDonald's and Coca-Cola? These guys are very successful. They're going to make money no matter what. But they spend 30%. I don't even know it's a high percentage of the money, and they put it back into marketing because they know you gotta keep your name out there. You gotta keep, when's the last time you saw a radio station do a billboard?
Oh my gosh.
That
doesn't necessarily exist. Are radio stations even putting like ads on social media for their shows? Because yes, you're local, but technically you're stream.
Yeah, you can be anywhere.
Anywhere in the world can listen to you. So why would they not see you as an international brand? But I implore people who are still in the realm of radio that are managers and like CEOs of these spaces to really start looking at how can we get behind talent.
Yep.
The talent is the brand. The show can go beyond the radio airwaves, but they need the team. It can't just be like one co-host or one host doing all the work. You need a team of people. It runs like a TV show. It really does.
But the problem is they don't understand it. They don't see half of it because, like you said, they're asleep. We're up. We had a guy on our show at one station. They wanted to fire the guy. We're like, he's our best worker. The board. He's doing all this stuff. And he got there at 1:50, 2 in the morning. He was there. By 2 in the morning, he was already there an hour and a half before everybody else. But because he went home at like 10:30, they thought, he's only. I'm like, you don't see just because he's not doing office time like you were talking about. You don't think he's there. Out of sight, out of mind type thing. So that's something to learn too. Go around and shake hands, kiss babies type things. You should always be talking to the salespeople because you want to get endorsements and you want to
get endorsements. Yeah. Talk to all the people.
Make sure you do that at least twice a week. Go around. If there's even a sales pit, our sales pit now, it's like they don't even come in. Like they work. They don't need to be in the office like the old days.
They need to go be shaking hands and kissing babies.
On our brand. Yeah. So I just feel bad for all those people that got let go. network with people. If you're watching this for some reason, producer Eric at Gmail is my email. You can find me on social media, producer Eric. I should put with Eric. Just make that'd be cool.
That's
you can
do it. Oh
I know
my
I need to look
gosh.
it up, but you can reach out to me. I can try and help because I'm always trying to see if I can find the next talent and stuff.
Well,
Don't
and
give
like
up.
even if you're a content creator too, right? Because you're only as good as your last bit. I mean, you wrote the book.
Yep.
And so we're in this world where I truly believe everything is content. Our mundane everyday stuff is actually way more relatable than those big stories. I have clients that will say, I'll just say, go live. Just go, you're cooking dinner, go live, talk about your day. And they're just like, who's going to watch that? I was like, you'll be shocked at what the most mundane things people will watch.
OnlyFans and feet pics are really big. So you cooking is actually probably refreshing. I might be able to learn how to make a meal.
But also with like lives, I feel like I'll look for a live when I'm going to cook because it feels like it's a friend like FaceTiming me, right? Like, or I have somebody there that's like keeping me company while I do the thing.
Rilla
and I think
pantry,
that's
pantry powwows, she calls it. She goes to the pantry because she started eating food there, hiding from the kids.
Yeah.
She's like recording herself, and she would just talk for like 5 minutes. And then one time her husband joined him. He's like, "What are you doing in here?" And they were just both like, that's her thing now at the pantry powwow. She goes to the big pantry room, eats the food, and stays away from the kids. And it's relatable because so many parents want to hide from their kids.
Well, I'm such a dick, but one summer, because and you know this, because you have kids, you buy the snacks, and when they're home for the summer and they're not going to camp every day, all they want to do is eat, and they will eat everything you bought that's for the week in one day.
The worst.
And so I got a lockbox.
Oh, wow.
It's a clear lockbox.
Well, that's even worse.
I put the snacks
so you can see it. It's like, come on, Mom.
Right. I was like, and
up.
they each had a basket for the day. I doled out like, these are the snacks you can have for the day, and everything else is in the lockbox, and you don't get the code. It's smart, but it was like probably a little bit mean, but like, right. Exactly. You can have anything fresh in the fridge. Absolutely.
Carrot,
but like the prepackaged food that's probably gonna, not good for you. Yep. We have to dole that out, and you can save it for tomorrow. And so literally I had this clear lockbox. I got it on Amazon, and my son is smart as hell and figured out the code.
No way.
1, 2, 3. The food.
Damn it.
Yes.
Man.
I think it was
because Mom doesn't know how to change it.
Or like 4, 4, 4. It was hilarious. And then
parents, we gotta keep it simple.
And then changed the code, and wouldn't tell me what it was. I was like, oh, you little, oh.
Smart kid.
I know. I was like, I love you, but sometimes
he's either going to be a CEO or he's going to be a thief.
He wants to be in the Air Force, so we'll see how it goes.
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, great. Well, thank you so much. First of all, congratulations for the With Eric. Honestly, that is huge. I applaud you because I know it's well deserved and well earned. You've been at this game for so long, from farm boy to radio producer, co-host, and like now your name is on the show. And I think that it's really well deserved. And when I saw that, I just lit up because I was like, oh my God, if anybody deserves it, it's Eric.
Yeah, I'm just appreciate people like you that have been friends forever that keep me want to do this, because there's not as many producers like before. Like back in 2005, there's so many of us, and now it's like it's sad. Or people hire producers; they're not producers. It's just they gotta
They just have to run the board, or right. Go edit some stuff.
Producer, I'm gonna give you a test, but there's not many people like you, and that's what I love what you're doing, helping others out there. And
I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can, and I really I believe in radio. I just think that they have to start thinking of it differently. It's not you're not just a radio show for 4 hours. It's a brand, and it's not just up to you guys to market yourselves, right? Like I'm sure it comes down to like, well, you guys need to be putting out more videos, and you need to tease stuff more, and ... Like all that's true, sure, but like you can't do it alone. You need a team.
I have a team to do that, and like this thing, I don't know if you can see it back here.
Yeah.
But I bought that for myself. I bought a rug. If you go to at Producer Eric, I did a video story today. It's got our whole thing, because our rug, like we got a rug on the floor of our studio. It's like pieces are missing. It looks so ugly. I'm like, why have they not changed this? Because we don't want to screw with the budget. That costs money, and we're trying to hit budget that type of thing. And I assume they're thinking bosses. So I just bought this rug for $200. I'm like, screw it. I'm putting it there. I'm sure our afternoon show will be pissed. Like, what the crap? You know how it is in radio.
They can just put tape, like a big tape decks on it, like whatever. But that's the thing. And like, that's how your brain works. That's how my brain works, right? Like, okay, if they're not going to pay for the budget, what is another way to do it? How can we sell it through some other way? How else can we get the funds? Get trade? Or, you know what? Sometimes you just suck it up and you spend the money. Because
I was lazy. I spent the money and I found out this company is like called Pearland, Texas, which is 20 minutes from my house. I paid $15 for them to deliver. I'm like, what the? It cost me four.
Did you talk about that?
Did you a little bit, but I didn't want to promote them because I had to pay for it. I'm like,
right.
I haven't talked to the owner because he didn't believe who I was. I had to email him through company to get the logo. He thought maybe I was just some weirdo. I'm like,
although, again, if you think of it as a brand, maybe there's another rug you need in the future. Yeah, you guys can partner, you can tag them, and you can get a nice little mention on the air.
And I'd do trade. If he gives me all this stuff for free, and we'll do trade and stuff for the station. And I mean, there's ways to
do it. And I think I would never take no for an answer unless I knew it was really a no. Right? Because that would be the worst if somebody in promotions would be like, oh, well, I made a call and left a voicemail. I was like, and then what? I've literally driven to places to physically be like, hi, like I am the producer that's been calling you.
No, you're a beast, man. You kick you and Rula, two people that just have, even Rula on the radio today, we were done with something. She's like, yeah, I got a bigger dingus than all you guys. It's like, you guys got balls, and I love that.
I just love you. I love what you're doing. You've always been a good friend to me. You've been a mentor to me too, because it's like, we're not in this space alone. And I think so many times we do feel like we're so alone, and we're not. Like, network, reach out to other people. It's the only way to survive in this business.
Just network just to survive for health is a great.
Yes.
It doesn't always be because you're looking for the job, but you want somebody that goes through what you've gone through and can relate to you. Because, like you said, you can tell your husband all you want, but he can't relate. He's doing construction. My wife owns a construction company and house building company and stuff. She doesn't understand what I'm going through, but I can talk to you all day and you get it.
1,000%. So thank you so much for being there for me. Honestly, truly, I appreciate you even taking the time to do this. I know you're exhausted. Congratulations. I really could cry. I think that you reached that pinnacle, that space of like inclusivity and being seen. There's something so beautiful in being seen for the hard work and dedication that you put into the show, the team, and the community that listens. And it paid off. And I'm just so proud of you.
I'm a lucky man. And I got you as a friend, so I know I'm lucky.